because this is the first time I've ever done this, and so I knew I was going to run into technical problems. Thank you guys for your patience while I got that figured out. So since you guys on YouTube were not hearing this, I want to go back just a minute. For those of you on Zoom, sorry, we're going to go back just to this first part about the word stress that we're hearing here. So going back to the contrast. We looked at this image, and I asked, is it easier to find the butterfly in the first image or the second image? It should be easier to find it in the second image, and the reason why is because we have contrast. So the same thing is true for words in English. These first two words follow a pattern, a stress pattern, da-da. So that means the two syllables that we have don't sound the same. We hear contrast, so da-da, final, coffee. And now moving on to the next one where we have the pattern da-da. We have repeat, correct. And so if you guys notice what's happening here, I don't say repeat. I don't say correct. Because if I say them in that way, then they sound too similar. Repeat, repeat, repeat. I don't hear a contrast. And that's the whole point. Looking back at the image of the butterfly, we need there to be some kind of contrast so our ear knows what part of the word to catch on to. So instead of saying repeat, we're going to say repeat. Now they sound different. Instead of saying correct, I'm going to say correct. Now they sound different. Okay, so thank you guys for your patience while I figured out that technical issue. Let's move on to this next pattern. Follows a stress pattern like da, da, da. So on Zoom, can someone read out loud for me this word following that stress pattern? Just turn on your microphone, whoever would like to read that for me. Okay, I heard like 3 people at the same time, but everyone said it right. And I see Giselle said in the chat that she lives in Alaska. So, yep, exactly. So you've probably heard this a million times. We reduce Alaska. So those syllables don't all sound the same, which is kind of the point I'm getting at here. In English, not all syllables are the same. Would someone like to say this one out loud for me, following the same pattern? Da, da, da. Good. So I hear a difference, but I think we can make that difference maybe even better. I didn't see who that was, but can you say it again? But I want you to say, instead of D, let's not make a D sound. Let's make a D. And then in this last syllable, we're going to say lup. So we have D, ve, lup. Yes. That sounds different than the way you said it the first time. And I know it's a very small difference, but that difference matters in English because in English, not all syllables are the same. So instead of saying develop, develop, this makes D and V sound a little too similar. Dive, dive, dive. We want it to be a little bit more contrast, so we say develop. All right, so moving on. How do we make it clear which syllable is the strong one? So we always have, in any word with 2 or more syllables, we always have a strong syllable. So how do we make it obvious which one that is? The first way is with the vowel sound. So looking at this example of the word student, the vowel sound is clear. So everyone, whether you're on YouTube or on Zoom, if you're on Zoom with your microphone off, I want you to try this. Notice how when you say student, the oo vowel, that one's very clear. Student. Ooh, ooh. So we have a clear vowel there. The next way is by making the vowel higher in pitch. So my voice is like on a higher octave somehow when I say student. Ooh, 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 student, student. And the final way, and this is the one that really is important, is that the vowel is especially long. So those of you who are listening, whether that's on YouTube or on Zoom, I want you to try it with me, and we're going to do the hands, okay? So I'm going to use my hands to make it clear that I'm stretching the vowel of stew, and I'm not stretching the vowel of didn't, okay? So I'm going to do it, and then I want you guys to do it with me. So we're saying Student. Those vowels are different. The first one is long and the second one isn't. Let's do it again. Student. Student. So even when I say this normally, there's a difference here. These are the three ways that I make the syllable that is strong. I make it sound strong. I make it clear which one is the stressed syllable. Do we have any questions? Okay, I don't see any questions in Zoom. Let me just check YouTube. I don't see any questions here. Okay, if that's the case, we're going to go ahead and move on. So we just learned how to make a syllable sound strong. We're going to do a little practice. So this one, again, I'm going to have everyone repeat after me. So if you're on Zoom, just make sure your microphone is off so that the sound doesn't distract the other people who are listening. On YouTube, of course, you don't have to worry about it. But we're going to go ahead and do some repetition practice to practice the concept of making one syllable sound stronger than the other. I'm just going to check on Zoom. I think you guys should be muted automatically. I don't see anyone with their microphone on, so I think we're good here. But I want you to participate. I want you to do it along with me. Let's read the first word right here. The stress is on the first syllable. So as you can see with the blue text, the stress is on the first syllable in this entire column. And in this column, it's on the second syllable. So starting with the first column, repeat after me, ivy. Good. So what you guys should notice is all of these things. My voice is higher. Well, in this case, your voice is higher. The vowel sound is super clear. In this case, it's I. And that vowel is a lot longer. So I is a lot longer than E. Ivy, ivy. Good. Now let's look at IV, like the thing they put in your arm in the hospital. So we have the same two sounds. The sounds don't change at all. The only thing that changes is the stress. So let's try that one. IV. Try it out loud and try it with the hands. IV. Good. Moving on to the next one. We have decade. Decade. Okay, and then changing nothing with the sounds, we're only going to change the stress. We have decayed, decayed. So we're using our tools to make the syllable that is strong sound strong. All right, continuing to the next. We have desert, desert. This is like desierto, right? Desert. Okay, and then for dessert, again, we're not changing anything really with individual sounds. We're only changing the stress. So that one is dessert, dessert. I know these two can be sort of a source of confusion. Leave me a comment in the YouTube video or in Zoom if you've ever had this problem before. But let's practice it again. Let's really hear the difference because the only difference really is the stress. So let's use our tools. My voice is higher in pitch. The vowel is very clear, and the vowel is longer. So we have desert, desert, and dessert, dessert, desert, dessert. All right, let's get through the rest of these practice words. Next we have history, history. And his story, his story. Character, clear vowel, character, character. Corrector, corrector. Homesick, homesick, homesick. Homesick. I'm going to just check and see if I have any messages. Someone else said, I've always struggled with that one, the desert and dessert. Definitely. I know that's a common one. And it's confusing because you would think that it's the pronunciation that changes, but it's kind of not really the pronunciation. It's the rhythm And that's what makes it clear to us as native speakers what word we're hearing, because we're just used to the rhythm being part of the identity of the word. Now, I want to address these last two words that I just said because I get this question every time. What's the difference between homesick and homesick? Does anyone want to guess? If you're on Zoom, you can just turn on your microphone if you think you know what the difference between homesick and homesick is. Yeah, which one do you think it is? Yeah, that's right. Homesick. I feel homesick. I miss my home. I miss something about it. Yeah. So what about the second one then? I see Nicole just said in the chat, the other one is to actually be sick at home. I think someone just turned on their mic. Manuel, did you have something you wanted to say? Yeah, we can see by the space between the words that they're like two adjectives together. Like I'm at home and I'm sick. So I'm homesick. I'm at home sick. Whereas the first one, yeah, is like missing your home. I see in YouTube that someone asked, what's the difference between the two history words? That's a great question. So the first one on the left side, history, that's like things that happened in the past. Historia, right? History. And on the right, we see the space and it's a story that belongs to him, his story. And again, in pronunciation, these would essentially be the same, but it's the rhythm that helps us hear the difference. Also, just a side note, in English, like we have two words for historia. It's like story, I would say could be historia or cuento. And then history is like historia, like as in something that happened in the past. So yeah. All right, we have one last set of words in this list. So let's look at these. I want you guys to say it out loud with me and feel the difference in the stress. 50. 50. 15. 15. So we do have a little bit different pronunciation here because we have teen versus T, but I mean, that little N is a very small thing. So where we really feel the difference is in the stress. So looking at 50, fifth, that's the same syllable we have in 15. It's pronounced exactly the same. So it's only the stress that really helps. Fifth versus fifth. 50, 15. I have some comments here on YouTube. I'm just going to read those. Poncho says, thank you for clearing up the two history words. Guido says, ¿Dónde se puede tomar clases con ella? I will definitely include towards the end some information about where to sign up. Freddie says, I love when you translate something using your Spanish. You know, that's so funny that you say that because when I'm in class, I kind of try to avoid using Spanish because of like two reasons. One, you guys are here for the English, and so I want to make sure that you're getting the English practice, listening practice. You know, you already know Spanish, right? And then also because I think it somehow helps with the brain and connecting words when, like, for example, if there's a word you don't know in English, but you know it in Spanish. If I just say it in Spanish, that's kind of the easy way. So I like to try to explain it in English. So I'm glad to get that feedback, Freddie. I love knowing Spanish because it helps me a lot with this stuff. So very good. All right. I don't think I have any comments here in Zoom. Nope. Okay, we're all good. So we're going to go ahead now and move on to the next page. Okay. What we've covered so far is that for the strong syllable, the vowel is clear, higher in pitch, and especially long. So to make a weak syllable, we do the opposite. Okay? For a weak syllable, the vowel sound is unclear. So now, instead of paying attention to stew, let's pay attention to dent and notice what's happening there. We have an unclear vowel sound. So I'm not saying student. I'm saying student, dent, dent. That vowel sound is super unclear. I don't even know what vowel it is. Dent, dent, dent. Okay? Second rule, again, these are just the opposite of the first rule. The vowel is lower in pitch, so my voice is going down. I have stew, which is up here. My voice is high. Student, student. And the final thing is that our vowel sound is especially short. So again, we're not paying this much attention anymore to stew, but rather to what happens in dent. So we have stew, and then we're creating contrast, dent. Stew, dent. This is where rhythm in English varies from English and rhythm in Spanish. Because in Spanish, obviously there is a rhythm, right? Like, it's not comida, it's not comida, it's comida. And we hear that mi is the strong syllable. It's obvious that mi is the strong syllable. But in Spanish, we do this by making mi like a higher pitch, and usually that's where it stops. We don't reduce the other things around it to make more contrast. In English, this contrast is super necessary. So this is where English and Spanish really vary. Okay, so whatever our strong syllable is, we raise our voice, just like in Spanish, but we also make the vowel super clear, and we make it super long, and then in the other syllables, we reduce them. These three things that you see here are basically the steps that we take to reduce a vowel. We make the vowel sound unclear, so it really doesn't sound like e, doesn't sound like I, doesn't sound like ah, it just sounds like just some little sound. The vowel is lower in pitch, and it's extra short compared to the other one. Because in English, not all syllables are the same. We need a big contrast because that's part of the rhythm of English, and that makes it really clear what word we're saying. Do we have any questions so far about weak syllables? Okay, I'm in the YouTube chat. I see saludos desde Argentina. Saludos. Let's see, I'm going to check Zoom to see if we have any questions. I don't see any questions here. Okay. So I think there's no questions about the weak syllable. Okay. Sorry, I lost my window. Where am I? Okay. All right, so continuing on. We're going to practice weak syllables. So in this case, we're going to move the stress. We already saw these words just a moment ago. It was the first two words, the first pair of words on our list. So let's practice moving the stress so that we can see what happens when we have stress on one syllable and then we move it to the other. So we're practicing weak syllables, but we're kind of practicing both together. So starting with the first side, again, I want you guys to read it with me. Try to do the hands, because I think that helps you feel it. We're going to make a clear, long, high syllable, de. And now we're going to make a short, unclear, low syllable, cade, cade, cade. Let's put them together. Decade. So my voice is changing in these three ways. Let's look at the other one. So we had a very clear de before. Now in this case, we're not going to say de. We're going to say d, d, d. So my voice is low. The vowel is unclear. And it's short. D, d, d. Now on the second syllable, we have high voice, long vowel, clear vowel. Cade, cade, decade, decade. And if this feels or sounds exaggerated, this is totally normal, and that's pretty normal in English. After this class, when you go and watch a movie, watch a TV show, listen to a podcast, listen to someone you know speak, you're going to notice, oh, it's true. They really are speaking that dramatic and exaggerated all the time, because this is just the rhythm of English. Let's continue with this practice. So I have other words that function in the same way. That is, words where the stress changes and changes the meaning. We're going to look at that a little bit more later on if we still have time. So looking at the word conduct or conduct. Pancho asks in the chat on YouTube, so always the strongest syllable is the one who must be pronounced loud and clear than the rest of the syllables, right? Exactly right. That's exactly how it is. Whichever syllable is the strongest one always needs to be louder, longer, and clearer. Very good question. So looking at this word, in spelling, I should have put the spelling here, I'll type it, but the spelling should be exactly the same. Both of these are spelled C-O-N-D-U-C-T. But the first one is the noun. So let's practice that. We have a clear vowel, ah. We have a long vowel, and we have a higher voice. So let's try that syllable. Con, con. I'm going to highlight it. One more time. Con. Okay, now in our unstressed syllable, we have a low voice, an unclear vowel, and it's shorter. Duct, duct, duct. Conduct, conduct. All right, moving on to conduct, which is the verb. So we have our unstressed syllable first. So we're going to say not con, but rather the inverse of that. So my voice is low, my vowel is unclear. It's not ah, it's and it's short. Con. This unclear vowel, hopefully you guys can notice that it sounds kind of like I just don't have a vowel at all. It just sounds like the sound k and the sound n together. Con. And then followed by that, we have our strong one. So we're going to have a long vowel, a clear vowel, and higher voice. Duct, duct, conduct, conduct. So again, conduct is the verb, conduct is the noun. Let's look at our next set. We have present, present, present. This is the noun. All right. Then we have pr. You guys should notice how my lips don't really need to do very much here. Pr. If you have a mirror, try to watch yourself in the mirror. Your lips do not need to open very much. So if you say present, for this one, the verb, like to present something, we don't want to say pre, we say pr. Zent, present. So you have present and present. We're going to practice. This concept we've been talking about is about rhythm, but at the word level, not the sentence level. And the rhythm of English is a constant alternation between strong and weak syllables. In the strong syllables, we pronounce the vowel sound clearly with a higher pitch and we make it longer. In the weak syllables, we reduce the vowel sound so that it becomes unclear, lower pitched, and shorter. This sound is called schwa. Some of you might have heard of this already. Some of you might not. If you haven't, it doesn't matter. If you've ever gone on YouTube and searched American English pronunciation, you might have heard of this. This is the only vowel sound that has its own name. The rest of them have these technical names that describe like the position of the mouth. But schwa has its own name because it is the most common vowel sound in English. Because think about it, if we're always creating contrast, one syllable is always strong in any word with two or more syllables. So that means that not 100% of the time, but almost always, in that word that is two syllables or more with one strong syllable, there's going to be one syllable that is weak. And how do we make it weak? The things that we've just gone through. So we make it into a schwa, which is this tiny little reduced sound, this vowel sound that almost sounds like it doesn't exist at all. And as you can see here, we write this with the symbol of an E upside down. So let's practice together. On Zoom, do I have any volunteers to read some of these words for me? Turn on your mic and let me know, and then I'll tell you which ones to read. Okay, Nicole raised her hand. Nicole, can you read for me these first two? That was perfect. For those of you on YouTube who didn't hear, I heard travel, pilot. And honestly, that's the same pronunciation that I would expect to hear from a native speaker. So that was perfect, Nicole. Thank you. Anyone else want to read some words? If so, just turn on your microphone and let me know, and I'll tell you which ones to read. Manuel says in the chat, schwa is a tricky one. Yeah, I think that schwa can be tricky when we think of it as a sound. If we try to imagine the sound of schwa, I think this is a little more confusing than imagining what do I need to do to reduce a vowel. How do I make one syllable sound less strong compared to the other? Haven't had any volunteers yet. I might call on someone, but then again, I don't know who's... Okay, so some people just turned on their microphones. Whoever wants to speak first.
Okay, ticket,
Good.
pencil,
Good.
and light.
Good. Can you say again? Pencil.
Pencil,
Good. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. So what I heard was ticket, pencil, advice. And that was perfect. Again, that's the same kind of pronunciation I would expect to hear from a native speaker, where there is a strong contrast between the stressed syllable and the unstressed syllable. Very good. So those of you who are just listening without your microphone, hopefully you practice those along with us so that you can get used to the feeling of this contrast. Now we're going to identify the clear vowel and schwa. So this is going to be open to people on Zoom and on YouTube. So what I want to do is I want you out loud to yourself to read this first word and then type in the chat which rhythm you hear. You either hear da-da or da-da. Okay, so how can you type this? You can type like, I'm going to write it here on YouTube. You can write da-da or da-da. Same thing on Zoom. You can write, the rhythm is da-da or da-da. So for this first word, say it out loud to yourself and then write in the chat which rhythm you hear. Let me check. All right, I'm starting to get answers here in Zoom. On YouTube, I don't see any answers yet, so write your answer in the chat. Which rhythm do you hear? Okay, on Zoom, yes, everyone has the same answer on Zoom. Let me check on YouTube. I don't see any comments on YouTube. Hopefully you guys are hearing me. There we go. There, I got my first answer. Yes, it's the same one I'm seeing on Zoom. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys. The rhythm here is this one. Da-da. Listen. So what that means is that the second syllable of listen, we shouldn't really hear a clear vowel here. It should, well, first of all, the T is silent, so we don't pronounce the T at all. So we have listen, sin, sin, sin. If your pronunciation doesn't sound like sin, if it sounds like listen, sen, sen, that's too much vowel. We need less vowel. Listen, sin, sin, listen. Okay, what about number 2? What rhythm do you hear there? Da-da or da-da? Okay, on YouTube I see da-da. Correct. Reason. Zn. So just like with listen, that second syllable, in this case it's pronounced with a z sound, reason, but we hear a very quick little zn, zn, zn. And this is the interesting thing. Even though, let's imagine that T in listen is not there, so we have an S-E-N and we have an S-O-N. Even though we have written different vowel sounds, different vowel letters, because in English vowel letters and vowel sounds are different. We have different vowel letters written. They are not pronounced differently. The difference is that this one is an S and this one is a Z, but that's not our point. Sun, zun, sun, zun. Both vowels are schwa. Why? Because they both fall in an unstressed position. So the mistake that a lot of people make is trying to pronounce words differently because they look different in spelling. Just because two things are spelled differently does not mean that they will be pronounced differently. All right, so I want to get moving along, so I don't think we're going to go through this entire thing. Let's just treat this as a practice round. So I'm going to let you guys repeat after me. Feel the rhythm, try to imitate the rhythm that I'm doing, and then I'm going to tell you which one it is. So number 3. Repeat it like me. Allow. Allow. So the rhythm there is da-da, da-da. Number 4. Attend. Attend. I already gave it away with the hand. It's da-da, da. So in this case, when we have a letter A coming at the beginning and that is in an unstressed position, we still pronounce a sound, but that sound is schwa. So it's just like this little Watch my lips. I'm not doing anything crazy with the lips. It's just allow, attend. Next word, African. African. Da da da. Da da da. African. Do we have any questions so far? Write them in the chat if so that I can check them. I don't see any questions here in YouTube, and I don't see any here in Zoom either. Okay, good. Rosanna says she can't see the words clearly. Is anyone else having this issue? Sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. Mirelis? Mirelis? Sorry, Mirelis, right? Let me go back to the last one. I guess I made a mistake here because this is actually a 3-syllable word and it's in the 2-syllable words. Whoops. But she asked, where is the schwa? So we have the strong syllable here. So that means the other two are schwa. This won't always happen. Not every syllable is always schwa if it's unstressed, but in this case it is. So we have African, 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 African. Good question. I saw a couple other people on Zoom saying that they were having an issue with seeing they're blurry. Yeah, this is my first time doing a kind of stream where I'm on Zoom and YouTube at the same time. I ran some tests, and in some of the tests it was blurry, and I thought I fixed it. And I see Danny and Katie said that they are blurry. Luciana says now that I zoomed in, it's better. I think on YouTube, you guys didn't have that issue because Karen said no. So I'm going to try to leave it zoomed in like this. And if it gets blurry again, which again is something I'm kind of aware of that might happen, just let me know and I can see if I can fix it. So moving on now to 3-syllable words. I see someone said good class. No questions for now. Poncho says, will this live stream be saved on your channel once it's over? Yes, it will be saved. Very good. Also for those of you on Zoom, yeah, so if you needed to leave early or anything like that or step away, this is going to be also on YouTube for you to watch again. Looking at 3-syllable words, we're going to treat this again as practice. Repeat after me. Character. 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 Richter. Character. Good. Next we have develop. Good. So what I like that I'm hearing there, Christian, is that I hear de-lip. So something I hear a lot is these beginnings are really tricky. The ones that begin like re, d, b. So in these kind of words, I hear all the time, people say review is like people say review instead of review. People say develop instead of develop. People say because instead of because. So don't let that fool you. We don't need to say E. When it comes in this kind of position where it's unstressed, which happens a lot with these kind of beginnings, it's not re-d-b, but r-d-b. Good, so develop. Next, official. Official. So same stress as before. We have official. This ending is almost always o. Like there's no vowel at all. Shul. All right, number 4. Together. What you should be doing is together. So to and there would be wrong. It's not together. It's together. ther, t, t, t. Watch my lips. Make sure your lips are doing the same thing. No rounding. It's not tu, 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 t. The lips are like this. T, t, t. Ge. There's our clear vowel. Ther, ther. The rest are unclear. All right, so I think we're gonna finish with this practice. We are coming up on the hour, and I want to give you guys time to ask questions. The other things that I had planned was just kind of going through some rules, which is a little bit tricky because there are rules that can help us know where the stress falls. But the thing about these rules is that they're very irregular. There are tons of exceptions all the time. So it's kind of hard to say, okay, these are the definite rules of when you should put stress, okay? So what I recommend to really practice that's gonna help you a little bit more than memorizing rules, I will send out the rules so that you can see them. But what I recommend is repetition practice. In my membership, the Phonetic Fluency membership, every video lesson comes with repetition practice. Because the idea is that because as a non-native speaker of English, you're not used to our spelling conventions can seem extremely strange, right? And so there are so many rules, but these rules also have lots of exceptions. So what I recommend is training through repetition practice so that, like a native speaker, you can get used to the feeling of pronouncing these words in this way. So in this one, for example, I have all of the different stress patterns that are possible. So for example, in 2-syllable words, we have two options. We have da-da and da-da. And so here I've included lots of the most common words following the da-da and the da-da pattern. The idea is that with the audio file, you just listen and repeat, and then you just kind of try to internalize the pronunciation that you hear and that you feel, and you start to make this difference. Long, clear, higher voice vowel, and then reduced, short, small vowel. Then we have 3-syllable words. We have 3 different patterns available for them. 4-syllable words, and a couple of 5-syllable words. So that is what I recommend for your practice, is to do lots of repetition practice. Another thing that's available to you is anytime you hear a word, try to ask yourself what kind of rhythm you hear, not just the pronunciation, because sometimes the rhythm is more important than the pronunciation when it comes to hearing. We saw this definitely in words like desert and dessert. So all of the sounds are essentially the same, but the rhythm is the thing that really makes it different, okay? So what I recommend is to join the Phonetic Fluency membership if you're able to, and in the membership, you have access to all of my practice sheets for everything. So of course, word stress is one of those things, but of course we also have video lessons about every sound in English, all of the consonants, all of the vowels, and a couple different lessons about rhythm, intonation, connected speech, and then there's where I have the PDFs. The PDFs are, because I think a lot of people need the visual aid, but the visual aid isn't really the necessary part. The most important part here is the audio, because in the audio, you'll hear my voice reading every part. So this one in particular is a kind of long, so I recommend dividing it into parts, because it's, sorry, it's loading. It's like 19 minutes long. You don't need to sit there and listen to 19 minutes of audio at the same time, but you can listen to one part, and the purpose, like I said, is listen and repeat. So you don't really need to look at the PDF. You can just download the audio and you'll hear my voice guiding you through all of the practices. So I had a little bit more to share, but I'm gonna just send this out to you guys as a PDF so that you can see the different rules about word stress, because I wanna save these last couple of minutes for questions. So I'm gonna open the chat and see if anyone has any questions. Christian says in the chat on Zoom, building muscle memory. Yes, exactly. So Repetition practice is all about building muscle memory so that you don't have to rely on your memory to say, oh, in that word, where was the stress? Was it in the first syllable, second syllable? You just practice it so many times that you build the muscle memory and it just becomes something natural to you. So yeah, exactly, Christian. That's totally the point. Karen says in YouTube, superb class. Thank you so much. Thank you, Karen, for joining. Nice to see you. Well, not see you, but see you participating. Thank you. Again, I want this last bit to be for questions. So in Zoom, if you have questions, you can either write them in the chat or just turn on your microphone and let me know. On YouTube, if you want to write them in the chat, if you have any questions, now is the time. It can be about what we have seen here, or if you have other questions, let me know. So, for example, on YouTube, there were some questions a little towards the beginning about classes. So I'm going to go back and read those. I didn't quite read them earlier, so let me just check. Guido asked a while ago, where can you take classes with me? Here, I'll write this here in the chat, phoneticfluency.com. So on phoneticfluency.com, there's a link that says, I think it says work with me or how to work with me or check my offers or something, because I do one-on-one classes and I have the membership. So in the membership, we do classes just like this one twice a month. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, the classes that we have inside the membership, you would be able to turn on your microphone and your camera and participate. They're usually smaller groups. Those of you who are on Zoom, who are also part of the membership, will know. Usually our groups are around between 5, 10, at most maybe 15 people. So that's a good way to work with me because, you know, a one-on-one class in an accent coaching context can be kind of expensive, and the membership is less than half of that. So that's a really good way. And then also the added bonus is you get access to my entire library of video lessons, plus these practice sheets. So that was one question, is how to take classes. So I mean, just to kind of recap, I offer one-on-one and the membership. And you can find those on phoneticfluency.com. Sorry, I'm just checking here if I missed any other questions. No, I think I got most of them. The rest of them about the live stream being saved, if it's going to be saved. Okay, I have people saying thank you, nice class. Thank you guys for attending. Let me hop over to Zoom and see if I have any questions. Oh, I do. Okay, let me scroll back up. Okay, so Mirelis asks, what is the difference between schwa and the sound I in words like review and develop? Is it the same sound in both words when speaking? Are these sounds interchangeable or not so much? That's a great question. In words that have what would normally be like an I sound or an E sound even, when that syllable is reduced, it can reduce to schwa, or sometimes it can reduce to an I sound. For example, I say review and develop. So in my case, I pronounce those both as schwa. But it would be okay, I think, to say maybe not develop. No, that's a good question. I think that it's possible that some reduced vowels, depending on what they would sound like if they were stressed, can be also reduced to I. I recommend, just to be safe, go ahead and reduce them to schwa, because, you know, there's the possibility that you're not sure what sounds should be reduced to I rather than something else. So I would recommend just reducing to schwa. But yes, that is a possibility. That does happen. And a lot of times when a Spanish speaker might think that it's an E sound, it often is an I sound. For example, in words like income, it's not income, it's income. Just as an example. But yeah, that's a good question. You could hear an I sound in words like review and develop as review, develop, but I recommend reducing to schwa. Danny says, how can I know the stress in a word that I don't know? That's a great question. And my biggest recommendation there would be to check. And there are two ways I recommend checking. Wiktionary.org is my favorite because I like it because you can get all of the etymological information. So for example, let's look up the word develop, because I see someone else in the chat asked me to repeat that. I'll repeat it again a little bit more clearly in just a second. But as I come down here, it's not necessary that you understand the IPA and how to read it and all of this stuff. It would be helpful if you do, because this gives you a lot of tools in order to understand. So here we can see the IPA, and that right here, that little apostrophe, that marks the stress. So I know that it's develop. And going back to the prior question, we can see here that they actually do write it as an I sound. I would say develop. That's the tricky thing about English too, is there's more than one correct way to pronounce a lot of words. Or you can reduce it to develop. The important thing is that we're not saying D. But here we can see the stress, but you can also listen to it. This is a good tool for maybe if you have all of the technical knowledge, like in my case, I know how to read the IPA. But I think the best thing you can do as a non-native speaker is to hear the word. So you should just go to Youglish, click on US, type in the word, and then you can hear several videos. Like in this case, 73,000 videos of people saying the word develop. Or you can ask someone around you how to say it. So when you come across a word and you don't know how it's pronounced, ask. And try to hear. You should also be getting used to hearing where the stress is, like which syllable follows these rules. Which syllable sounds longer, higher, and clearer. Hopefully that answered your question, Danny. Manuel asked for me to repeat develop. I'm going to repeat that again slowly. Lup. Develop. Giselle says, thank you for the amazing class. Mirali says, thank you so much for the answer. I'm a huge fan of your videos on Instagram. Thank you. And thank you so much for attending. Danny says, before or after the apostrophe? After. The apostrophe marks the start of the stress syllable. Sometimes you'll see apostrophes that are below. That can be a little confusing, but that marks secondary stress. But when you see it above, that should mark primary stress, and it comes directly before the stress syllable. On YouTube, I don't see any other questions, so I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up, guys. I'll just show you kind of to close here where you can find me. Phoneticfluency.com obviously is my website, so here you can find everything. Going down to the bottom, this is where you can find my YouTube and Instagram. So if you don't follow me on YouTube, if you don't follow me on Instagram, you can find those right here. And obviously also on the website, this is where you can find different ways to work with me. So I have one-on-one coaching and I have the membership. In the membership, we do classes like this twice a month. They're small groups and everyone is able to participate. That is $37 a month. And we have a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you join and you find out it's not for you, you can send me an email. And yeah, so there's no risk to joining. I see another comment. I'm going to check your website. I will definitely buy your course. What a beautiful way of teaching. Thank you so much. What a nice comment. I'm so glad that you guys were able to join and to participate and to learn, because again, I think this is something that is not taught very much in ESL learning. People focus a lot on grammar and vocabulary, which is obviously important, you know, but I consider language to be made of 3 pillars: vocabulary, grammar, and phonetics. So if we put so much attention on the first 2, why ignore the third? Phonetics is a super important part of making sure that you're being understood, because as a lot of you who are here probably know, you can know all the grammar and vocabulary in the world, but if your pronunciation is off or wrong or different than what the person is expecting to hear, they won't understand you. So phonetics is super important for that reason, and that's why I want to help you guys with that. So I'm glad you guys were able to attend. We're going to go ahead and end here. Thanks again, and